Hello, this is Val Lemoyne. Today we're going to talk about potential pitfalls to look for when purchasing a house. There's a lot of things that could go wrong in a house, and a lot of it can be prevented by proper maintenance along the way. But when you're a buyer and you don't know if the previous owners have taken care of the house, you got to know what to look for and make sure that you don't make a bad purchase decision. So follow me, let's go check it out. So the first thing I see on a house this age is that there's a chance that under this wooden siding right here, we could have asbestos. And so that is one thing that I would have the inspector look for. As we look at the front porch, if you look down this way, you can see that there's a negative grade. And so the water is pointed towards the house, and that's due to settlement, which is not a good thing. That would have to be fixed. You know, there would have to be caulking right there. The grade, I mean, we can't fix all this concrete here. This is an example of what not to do right here. We want the downspout extended at least 3 feet from the house. And you can see that where the water is hitting the ground, it's forming a hole, because when the water hits the ground with the momentum coming down 5 feet, it creates a hole off of the downspout right there. Gutters are super important. You really have to do proper maintenance in regards to water when it comes to a house. So if we look at this gutter right here, we can see that it's protruding out, right? So if you leave your gutters dirty for too long without cleaning them, the weight of them is going to make them bend. So if we come and look from this angle, we can see that the gutter is actually pulling away from the house, which is bad. The gutter has to be level and flush to the fascia so that it's performing its job and taking all the water down to the downspout, because the water has to flow all the way down with gravity, hit this side, and then come down here. And again, we want the downspouts extended. One of the things that I like to see is there's what's called a drip edge on the roof. And what that is it's a piece of plastic that is perpendicular to the roof shingles and parallel with the soffit. And what that does is it's going to make sure that there's not going to be any wood rot where the shingles meet the wood. So as soon as I walk in this house, first things that I see, okay? So this chimney, I would definitely want to inspect it. The age of the house is to where we would want to look at it with a fine-tooth comb. And I see cracking in the support of the chimney. So as you have a fire, that could be really dangerous, because we want to make sure that all the heat escapes up and not down and to the sides. So we've got the original hardwoods here, which are nice, but just from walking on it, I can see that they're not level. And it's funny because you can always tell like how the previous owners had their house set up. My guess is that there was a sectional couch right here, and right here is where the stuff was getting spilled on the ground. And that's what would have caused this discoloration right here around the sectional couch. So let's go here next. So one of the things that I like about this room is we can see what a brand new window looks like right here. So this is a vinyl window, double hung. So double hung means that we can open it either from the top or the bottom, which is cool, makes it easier to clean. And here is what the original window looks like. So this is a single pane window. What that means is there's only one piece of glass and no insulation in between. So on a hot day or a cold day, a lot more heat or cool would come in through here. We also have wood on here. So that means that this can rot, and you have to paint it every 5 to 8 years, just like your house, to make sure that it doesn't rot. These are usually not as easy to open all the way. So this is about as high as this goes right here. And when you see where the windows overlap with each other, you can see some deterioration due to moisture getting trapped in between. So these single pane windows, this are original with the house, and normally have a shelf life of about 50 years. which these have extended. So here is the laundry room. So this flooring is not original to the house. So that means that this flooring was installed after the fact. Here is the washer, hot water and cold water intake. So I can tell that this was not done up to code, because if it was, there would be a sticker right here to show us that an inspector came and looked at it. Here we have the main air intake of the house. So this is original to the house again, and I would bet money that if the HVAC has been redone at one point, that this is no longer functional. So here we have a galley kitchen. A galley kitchen means that you've got countertops on both sides. Some people love it, some people hate it. So this kitchen has been completely redone recently. My guess is probably for the resale of the house, because these cabinets do look brand new. So these are builder's grade cabinets. What that means is they're on the cheaper side. Somebody could have gone much higher quality on these cabinets, not that they're bad. For them to be nicer, they would have gone all the way to the ceiling. So they used a subway tile backsplash, which is not too bad. You can always tell how good the installation job is, so it's always going to be harder around outlets. And you can see right here that it is not perfectly flush in between this tile and this tile. And so I don't see too many evidence of those grooves right there. So all in all, it was a B+ installation job. Let's go check out the outside. Interesting. Let's go check this out. Enter at your own risk. This is where you would have had a root cellar. For the size of this house, it feels clearly cooler in here. And so this was a great place to store goods before refrigerators were in place. This is also a really good spot to be because it's all cinder blocks, and so we get to see what to look for as potential red flags. Whenever I see cinder blocks painted, then oops. And it says, what are we trying to hide, okay? If there's any type of cracking or anything like that. So here, if you look in this corner, we're under the ground, and the white that you see on the cinder blocks are due to calcium, because cement is porous and it does let humidity through. On the other side, we'll see how tall the dirt is, but I'm guessing it's up to here. We see the moisture seeping through. So to prevent that, number one defense is the gutters. Number two is the sloping of the dirt. We want to make sure that it slopes away from the house. When you have too much settlement, you start to see cracking along the grout right here. And so this is called staircase cracking because it forms a staircase as it cracks. And so it's not the end of the world. It's really common, especially in houses this old. And you can see that it's pretty much throughout here. And so again, water control is going to be the best way to fix this. This is also a great thing to explain right here. So this is PVC, this plumbing. This is called a P-trap, because if you look at it from upside down, it kind of forms an upside down P. And this is to make sure that the sewage water, there's always some resting at this level right here, so that no bad smells come back up into the kitchen. Right here, this is cast iron, and this is original to the house. And as you can see, to change this guy, you got to go in on the other side of this wall in this crawl space, and it's not going to be fun. But you can see that there's evidence of rust right here. Like this is really rusted from this color. You can see it on my finger, just the different colors of rust from this cast iron plumbing. So at one point they had a water leak, and that's why they put in this new PVC here. But there's a lot of evidence of old cast iron plumbing, and you can see here, like this is, I mean, this is really rusty right here. This right here probably has 1 to 2 years left before that's a water leak. Here, another thing, we're under the actual house. So above us is a part of the house. And one of the things that we would like to see is some insulation. under the floorboards, so that on a cold day, since this isn't heated and cooled, the heat or the cool would not go into the house because of our insulation. So right here, this shows you an example of an improper electrical wire. So the wires should always be nailed to the wood so that nobody can grab on it and pull it down, because then you have a hot wire that you could electrocute yourself. Another example of poor electrical wiring is this right here. So we've got our switch to the furnace. This would shut it off if I flipped it off and then turn it back on. And here we've got the actual wiring that is completely exposed. So if you put your finger in the middle of that, you can electrocute yourself because it's not around the conduit, which would normally protect you. Again, an example of wanting to extend the downspout. Downspouts always need to be extended at least 3 feet away from the house to not have any foundation issues. So there's a creek going to the back right here. So this tells me that I would want to check and make sure that we're not in a floodplain here. Looking at this condenser, the condenser is the part that cools the AC unit. It's not level. It's pointing a little bit towards the back. And so we would want that to be leveled, because otherwise it's going to cause our condenser to fail prematurely. So here we're going to access the crawl space. All right, one thing to always do when going in a crawl space, you got to have a little stick with you, because I guarantee you it is spider heaven in there. So I've got my stick and my flashlight. I'm ready to go. So this is a pretty crazy crawl space. The floors are also not insulated from here. And so if you come closer this way, you can actually see evidence of mold on the floorboards right here. All these little black dots are mold. So that's not good, and that's definitely something that you want to address. And that means that there's water intrusion inside of here. There we go. And of course, we would definitely want to inspect this house. No zero due diligence offer on this bad boy. Here, there's another example of how the gutter is detaching from the house. If you look at it from this angle, it's not perfectly flush against it. Another interesting thing is if you look, there are 3 layers of shingles right there. So that means that the last time that they replaced the roof, they put 1 extra layer of shingles on top of the original layer, which is not against code, but you do that to save money. So that way you don't have to remove the previous layer of shingles. You just put the new layer on top of the old layer. So this is kind of cool, because we've got really old with really new. This is actual brick that I'm standing on. So they've replaced this vanity. Of course, it's brand new. This is an actual porcelain tub. This is also original with the house. And I can tell that it's been glazed. This is not the original color. Somebody glazed this tub. They did put, this is new right here, this wall going on the outside. And they also replaced the hardware of the shower. But these guys, if you ever have to remove them, it is not easy. And I don't blame them for leaving it here. Here I'm going to test the vent. So from the noise of the fan, I would definitely check it out. And I would also bet money that it vents into the attic when it's supposed to vent outside, just because of the age of it, and it definitely needs to be replaced. So this room is one of the rooms that has the most sediment. If I had a marble to drop right here, the marble would run this way. So this is also not code. The electrical panel is inside of the bedroom. So, and that should not be the case. I don't know what these red dots mean, but that can't be great. If we had this inspected, the inspector would pop this off and just make sure that this is all good. You should not have an open breaker right here. This is something that you normally cover. This also gives you the age of the house. This is a 100 amp breaker panel, where most of them will be 200. And you can see the little 100 from this side right here. So you could not have a super strong AC unit or a Tesla charging station or other things that would require 200 amps to run the house because it's only wired for 100 amps. So guys, these are some of the things that you look for in a house. And one more thing I want to mention is we talked about the cast iron piping. You would definitely want to check the piping from the house to the street. That is one thing that is not included in your standard inspection, but if you don't check it, a root could puncture through it, or the weight of the dirt above it could cause it to dent in, and eventually that is something that once it fails, you know it immediately. So if there's a problem with it, you would want to find that out during your inspection and negotiate that off of the price as well. Another thing is if this had a septic system, we would 100% want to inspect it as well, just due to the age of the house. If it was built with a septic system, that means it's original on a 70-year-old house. If the septic system has not been very well maintained, there's a good chance that it would need to be replaced, and that would cost anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000. Would I write a zero due diligence offer on this house? Absolutely not. Nope, we would definitely get a due diligence period in here to perform proper inspection. Definitely some renegotiating would take place during the due diligence period, but it's not a deal breaker, right? I want to know exactly what I'm working with. I can repair anything that's broken. I have every single contractor that we would need to fix this house up 100%. But I want to know what those things are going to be prior to the point of no return. So hopefully this was helpful with you guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can know about my next videos coming out. This is Val Lemoyne, CEO of the Real Estate Being Easy Group, signing off.